In this video tutorial, I will be taking that table that I created and applying an image texture to it. So I want to wrap this thing in an image. I went online to Google image search and I typed in wood texture seamless. I want it to be seamless because I may need to repeat the pattern, and something being seamless simply means that the left side is the same as the right side so that it can tile or repeat and we can use it multiple times instead of just stretching it out over the entire image. And I found a bunch in here. I picked this one. I'm going to take this file. I have to click through to it on view image until I get the biggest possible version because I want large high resolution files. Otherwise you're going to see a lot of it's not going to look nice on your image if it's a low texture, a low resolution file. I'll right click on this, save it, and I would probably save it in that folder that is created, your project folder, which in my case, I would save it probably in the images folder that it creates. I got wood textures, high quality. I might want to rename this, maybe wood table or something so I can recognize it and I don't lose it. And then I need to, over here on my right side, I need to open up my hypershade. So I'm going to right click on one of these and choose hypershade perspective so I can see both my hypershade and my perspective. And the first thing that I need to do is apply one of these to it. So I've got Lambert, which is matte. It's not shiny, it's a flat one. Blinn and Fong, which are different ways of doing more of a shiny texture. The anisotropic, I'm going to pick a Blinn because I want it to be fairly shiny. So before I can do anything else, I have to create some material for that image texture to be put on. The way that I can apply this to the table, I can either right click on the table and say, it's actually off the screen here, but assign existing material, or if it's selected, I can right click on the Blinn here and say assign material to selection. Not a lot's changed, they're both gray right now, but if I double click on this, you can see that if I change that color slider, it's updating. And I'd probably rename this Blinn 1, not very useful. I'll call this table, so that when I see table as my texture, it's on there. Now, we can just apply a color to this, so I could click on the color option here and try to get something that's brownish in this range, and that would be fine. But it doesn't look especially realistic, so instead of that, what I'm going to do, if I double click on this either in the materials or in the work area, it'll open it up over here on my attribute editor. Instead, I'm going to choose this checkerboard pattern next to color. And when I click on that, a whole bunch of other options open up for beyond just using color as the way that this is wrapped. And what I'm going to choose, I have an image, so I'll choose this file up here, and then this scrolls down. It'll be a little more open for you, but you're looking for image name and it's blank. If I click this folder, I can just go and find that file. So I will go to images, and I've got wood table. And when I double click on that, that should apply. Now the reason why I don't see it on my perspective view is that I have to hit 6. I have to maybe sometimes select it and choose 6. Now by default it might come in a little weird. Like it's really stretched out on the top here and around on the other sizes. It just doesn't look that great. And the reason for that, if I right click down here and choose my UV texture editor, this is what my UV map looks like. So we have certain things on top of other things. It's not using the space very well. Now I could go in by hand and take care of this, but it's much easier just to let Maya do it. And all I have to do is make sure I'm in object mode and select the entire table. And then up here at the top, I can choose Create UVs and do Automatic Mapping. And you should be able to see on that UV map, it's taken all of the flat surfaces and it's laid them out flat on this texture, which should just immediately make it look much better. You can see that those textures are being applied much better. If I come to my render right here and I can render it, see what it looks like. Looks pretty good. Now back in my hypershade, you can see in the work area there's several different things that I can mess around with in here. If I double click on Place 2D texture, I can increase how often it repeats. So by default it's using just that one texture. If I increase the UV repeat, if I say 2 instead, that's going to make it twice as small on my table. And if I usually do both numbers so it doesn't stretch, you can see how that texture is applying differently now. And it's a little shiny because I used a blend. If it ever isn't in your work area and just in your materials, you can right click on it here and say Graph Network, and you can see these options. This one, let me drag that a little bigger. This one is back to my blend attributes, and I can add bump maps or change it so it's glowing or whatever else I need to do here. The place 2D texture is how that image is placed onto the image. And once again, if I render this, that looks pretty good on there. And under most circumstances, just applying that automatic mapping to the UV will make it look really nice.